Happy rising, family out there. Felt like sharing. I had a question from someone about the purpose here and about the illusion. Um, I was asked if I could explain a bit more about the illusion of the expansion, the 5D expansion. And so I wrote it down. I wrote it down and I gave her the answer. And I was reading the answer and it says it all. So I have decided to start this video with just reading what I wrote to her. And we'll talk about it after I have read my answer. So this is what I wrote down. The illusion of 5D expansion. Dimensions are the layers within a program, which are placed in the element landscape of your instrument, your body. All is within, as you know. When a program is worked through, the shattered soul pieces present in the layers are brought home. When we alchemize it with our love, the program goes back to 0 point. And this experience gives us the feeling of expansion. But it is merely the effect of the frequency beneath the program that regains its freedom again. Your soul becoming more whole, and therefore your alchemizing love magic expands. An expansion always comes from within, never from outside of you. Because your soul essence awareness is and always have been source connected. And therefore you are already an infinite wholeness. You know, we are infinite wholeness. We are already whole, you know. There is in this holographic mind game of Yaldabaoth only one purpose. Becoming aware that this is a holographic mind game in which all contracts, gods, angels, galactic light family, etc. are connected to Yaldabaoth. The dimensions you experience while going through the layers of a program are projected through the moon incarnation station, which we also know as the Akashic Records. It's projected into the layers within each program. A program is placed upon certain frequencies and attached to a part of your body instrument that is connected to an element, mineral landscape, and emotion. We need to bring home the shattered pieces hidden in the layers of the programs and weave it back to harmonic source 0 point within, where the program loses its magnetizing power of creating loops on the outside screen. When we manage to bring all mind programs back to 0 point, the inner 144 frequencies that are part of the minerals and the elements will merge into one frequency, your own unique soul frequency and geometry. At this moment, you realign fully to the source of infinite unconditional love, the void, which is your doorway out of here. Yeah. Well, you know, that says it all, I guess. Yeah. So felt like sharing that, starting with that. And so, and believe me, I have believed for a very long time that the 5D expansion and the new Earth were very real, you know, and that I also received it from outside myself. but that was the illusion, of course. Um, it all happened inside myself, everything. So that became very clear, especially the past year, I guess. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I've been there, I've been there. All the dimensions I traveled through and all the aspects, and I just got lost in it. I just, because of, we want to identify with it. That's the programming we are in. You want to identify with it. You want to feel special. You want to have all these questions, and in the beginning also, what soul seed am I, and where do I come from, and so when we experience the layers within a program, which are shown to us as dimensions and former lifetimes, um, and where awareness goes, it becomes real. We give our worth to it, and it becomes real. So I've experienced former lifetimes and lifetimes in other dimensions, galactic realms, as very, very real. I was the body, and I could feel everything. I could see it, I could feel it, I could relive it. And so it was so real that, I made it into my identity. I just, want to hold on to that aspect. And oh my God, I'm Pleiadian. Oh man, I'm so special. you know, we want to feel special, but we are already special. And yeah, and the beautiful former lifetimes, so romantic, so beautiful. Or very satanic lifetimes, of course, and where you murdered someone, or hurt children, or murdered a complete tribe, or and you're like, oh my God, did I do that? And I deserve everything. It's all karma. Everything that happened to me, it was all karma. I deserve it. It's all to keep you distracted. It's all to keep you distracted, and to make sure you stay in that layer. Please stay in that dimension. Stay there as long as so you won't go to the next layer, and it becomes very busy. Also in your field, um, because it's all there are shattered pieces. Not in all the layers, but in a lot of layers you find shattered pieces of your soul. The essence of your soul is whole, you could say, but they managed to, you could say, from the outside they took some bites, and and could yeah, and could hide it in the programs, and we forget about that we are awareness in wholeness, aligned to source, source of unconditional love. And we are already, magicians and alchemizers, and we are it all. But everything is split. We are in the feminine and male energy. It's when you're in the void. You're just a substance. You're just a water, plasma water. Awareness, unconditional love, and it's like, for me, it was like there is 100% love there, and if I, in this mind game, it's like we experience 1% of that. So that's home to me. It's definitely home, the void, and because there's nothing there, there's no thought, there's no thought form, or there's just nothing, and everything at the same time, whole, you know. But where was I going with that? Oh yeah, the male and the female energies. Yeah, because in essence we are wholeness, there is no male or female energy, there's just wholeness. When you're in the void, you're wholeness. So it's that's also part of this mind projecting Yeldobat game, holographic game we are in. Everything is split. Everything is split into the yin and the yang, into the female and the male, and um, and we have to bring it all back to wholeness, 0 point. But of course, we have the distractions within the layers, which are, the mind projected um, dimensions, former lifetimes, etc. And and then every time when we bring a soul piece, eventually you get to the point, oh, I need to bring it home, that soul aspect, that's me, it's not outside of you, it's you. So you just have to bring it home into your heart, and bring the soul pieces home. And in that moment, when you bring a soul piece home, your soul becomes more whole again. A part of the puzzle is just clicking, and you expand from within. You have that feeling of relief. The soul is relieved in a way. So, and there's more space. And once you go through all the layers of a program and you brought back home all the shattered soul pieces that were there, and you have weaved it back to 0 point in a way, you weave it back to 0 point, and and usually there is always, or the feminine energy is wounded in a way, or the male energy is wounded in a way. Every program has that feminine and that male energy, and it's always connected. I've experienced while traveling through my body, it's always connected to an element mineral landscape, and it's always connected to um, parts of your body. Um, Always in two. So it's always two organs. It's um, and in one organ lives the female energy, and the other organ lives the male energy, and it depends on which one is wounded. Uh, when the program started in your childhood, um, because I've been traveling back with my Nessus program. I just focused on my Nessus program and traveled back, and I will tell you about it later. Um, it's just aware, it's the emotion that is connected to or the feminine or the male energy. It depends, of course, which is wounded. Um, the emotion that is belongs to, you could say, that element that is out of balance because of, when the program started in your childhood, it was being, you could say, activated in a way. The magnetizing powers started, and therefore the looping on the outside screen. Um, it always has to do with an emotion. It always comes down to an emotion. And it's the emotion, the frequency of that emotion, let's call it a frequency, that triggers an event on the outside screen. So, so when you um, align to a program within yourself, you can recognize it because a program always creates loops. Just look at the repeating loops in your life, and they all represent a program. And if you dive into that through the layers, you will eventually end up in the last layer, and you will find the emotion. know, that started it. That started the magnetizing process. And but there's a way to find out, in what element landscape within your body it is placed, you could say. And once you know that, it's so much easier to jump through a program, jump through the layers. And if I knew what I know now, I could have gone through the programs so much faster. But I was losing myself constantly in those layers, in those dimensions and in those former lifetimes, and I had to make art of it, and just romanticize it, and just and not see it for what it was, just a mind projected program. Yeah. So the only thing I had to do was just open the layer and just observe. Don't identify, just observe. Okay, where is there a shattered piece here present? You just follow the feeling of darkness, you could say, the most heaviest feeling you follow. Or for me it's like I'm a seer, so I could, if I see the forest, the wood element is the forest, and then I jump into the female energy or the male energy, and then I find, the female energy is buried, between the roots. That was in my case with the Nessus program when I went traveling back. And I discovered the emotion of frustration that was activated, you could say. The magnetizing power was activated by my Achilles heel. Achilles heel is the one you give blame to, like the scapegoat. As long as you're unconscious and you're still a victim, you want to blame someone. So I blamed my father. He was my Achilles heel, you could say. So because he ignored me, didn't took me seriously, didn't listen to me, didn't give me a safe feeling because of that, and just while I was trying to express what happened to me during nighttime, that created that my female energy within my liver froze in a way. It just froze, and it went deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper between the roots, and just stayed there. So that was the trigger. And the male energy, it was there were trees in the area of the male energy. They were so immensely big, but with skies above it, very threatening skies above it. So it was very controlling, very, how do you say it, being overwhelmed by the male energy. I don't know the right words now. I hope you understand. So what happened um, with my Nessus program and the events, that followed, had to do with violence and revenge and rape and murder and attempts on my life, etc. What happened was, oh yeah, I told you I decided, to focus on Nessus and just go back to the first moment where I just talked about, that first moment when I was 3-4 years old. And so my Achilles heel, my father, the behavior he reflected, to me when I was that young girl, became the trigger, you could say, because the man I fell in love with, while growing older, where an entity took over, or they became violent, or, because of they were drinking too much or whatever, tried to kill me. it was, they represented that behavior, my father showed in that moment, just ignore, not truly listening, and just overruling, like I'm God and I know everything. That kind of behavior in a well, like a narcissistic way, and and I just became even smaller, as a in the feminine energy within the forest, within the element of wood, within the liver. So the roots became very dark, you could say. And I lost my roots, and which resulted also literally because my feminine roots I lost in a way, you could say. And yeah, and and the body starts to react to that also. So my behavior started to change. I started to become more the male, the gallbladder, but the male in that forest, and and the behavior of my father, that started the program, you could say. I became more and more that that behavior, So I became when I started puberty, I was so angry and frustrated, and I just hated men, and I wanted to have revenge, Nessus. And I became, well, narcissistic in a way, because I didn't care anymore about feelings of others, yeah, when it came to down to men. Of course, the animal world and nature was always, that was my intimacy, my well, my roots, you could say. And my greatest love. So I started to, seduce men, use them, and dump them in a very harsh way. And I would use my words. For Nessus, asteroid Nessus is within my Gemini, my ascendant. Of course, it travels around, but when I started this game, this round, it was in my ascendant in Gemini, and it's, Gemini is the speaker. So the Nessus, the revenge I felt towards men, it came through the mouth. So I just seduced them and made love to them, or just kissed them, whatever. It was every time different. But then I just, they were, falling in love with me, and then bam, I just, destroyed them with my words. Bye bye. You know, yeah, I'm so sorry for those men, boys. But that's what I did, and it's a natural side effect of what was happening inside my body instrument, in the element environment, you could say, where Nessus, um, the program of Nessus was placed. And and during that same period, I lost the feeling in my legs, out of nowhere, just nothing, no feeling left, and paralyzed. And they didn't know, of course, Western medicine. They know, they don't. So they didn't know what it was. Maybe a hernia, but my back was not hurting. And so, well, it didn't took a long time. It was just, I don't know, a week. First time was a week, I guess, and then I got my feeling in my legs back, and yeah, and then later when I traveled to the island of Samos, after a rape again, it happened again. But then with energy work, it was just within a few hours, the feeling was back in my legs. But it was because of that male gallbladder energy that was totally, you could say it was the fire. it became an all destructive um, fire. That's the best way to describe it. But it all comes down to that first emotion, that first moment of frustration when I was 4 years old. And yeah, so it's fascinating. The architect of Yaldabaoth, the way they created this mind game and the architecture and how they place it in our body and make us believe that it's all happening outside of ourselves, and like the dimensions and the galactic family and the gods and the angels, and it's all within. and it's it's not even, it's just a projected image into a layer, you know into a program. So it's all holographic, you know so once you truly start feeling that, and if you want to have proof, just align to a plant in your house and just show me your essence, and just and focus on it, and without expectation, because that doesn't work. Just and then and do it for a couple of weeks, and then in a certain moment you will see it disappear into this. Well, it changes. For me, it was pixels. When the landscape disappeared, I was like, oh my god, what is real? Where the fuck am I? What is happening here? I just because the only thing that felt true to me was nature, you know, and the animals. So when that disappeared, I was like, oh, I was so lost. I cried for weeks and weeks and weeks, and until I could see it and understand it from within. And then I realized, it's nature is the most pure essence within this mind game, and so are the animals. So it's always nice to align to them because they're just purity, the animals and nature. So they can assist us in aligning to our own purity. So it's but if you want to experience it yourself, just go focus on it, challenge yourself, or go sit in the forest and just show me your essence, true essence. And yeah, and sometimes it's like pixels and like a screen, and sometimes it's all these little, you could say, energy movements that go very rapidly. So yeah, yeah, and it sometimes forms a geometry also. So it's like this holographic mind fuck. It's wow. Yeah, maybe it's geometric. Yeah, I believe it's, yeah, geometric based in geometrics, because they also lure us into the geometry outside of us, the matrix geometry, the Merkaba, and and there's so much, and the chakras, geometry of the chakras, and the symbols, and the sounds in the mantras, but it's all out there. It's all matrix. You don't need that, because it locks you in. It locks you into a layer. It locks you into a repeating loop. That is how I have experienced it. The moment I let go of everything, you know, not everything, because you have your soul brothers and sisters connections in which there is this beautiful reflection moment. So not that, but I'm talking about the higher teachings and all the courses that are out there, and the guru there, and the clarion call, and things like that. I just let go of it all, And I just, because I was so sick, I told you before, because of that shapeshifter, I magnetized with that snake, and well, and my body became sick and all those parasites. And I had to did everything, and eventually I was in the forest where I could breathe again, and I just sat down with my body and started the journey. And just, and it took about 4 years before I regained my energy, you could say, fully. But I just, so I went, I discovered, the structure of my body, connected to the Yaldabaoth programs, and the elements in which they reside, and well, etc., etc. So yeah, and what worked for me, what I discovered while I was silent within myself, in my body, and just aligning to my soul, and the alchemizing power of my heart. I just started asking, I I aligned to the organ that was shouting the loudest, was in pain. And I just, well, aligned to it. I would use my right hand, my active hand, and just place it on the organ. And I would just ask. And what came up for me was what movement, what energy movement is needed. And, to open up, the program within my organ and make the darkness conscious. I want to open up the layer. I want to dive. I want to travel into it. I want to make it conscious. And later I discovered that the soul um, aspect I brought home, but it went slowly because I was still in the I just I romanticized everything, the dimensions and the former lifetimes, etc. So it took me a long time. And so this energy movement I placed, I would make it into light. I would do it on paper, would make light of it, you could say, and then take it into my heart and place it with my right hand. I place it on my stomach, and then just activate it with a sound. So I asked for the sound to activate it, open it, and make the darkness conscious, and then a dimension would pop up, or form a lifetime. And if there was a soul, shattered soul piece present there, it would reveal itself as an aspect. And outside myself, for a very long time, because I lost myself in the dimension. Because, oh my God, I'm dead. I'm part of the council. Oh my God. So, so I just, yeah. So, but eventually, of course, I went through all the layers and and got to the core of the program. You could say I would weave my way. I would take every layer and weave it back to 0 point and alchemize it there, um, with my love. And but from this present moment, I talked about it before. I went back, and I focused only on Nessus, you know. Um, but I've kept a journal ever since I started the process. I've kept so many journals. So I wrote it all down, and also the energy movement. And but in the now, I was looking at it, reading it again, and what I see now, it's so beautiful. We have the geometry we need is right inside of us. The tunes we need are within us. The frequencies are all within us. It's all within us, everything. But we have to bring it all to wholeness, to 0 point. That's the game, because they have split everything. But I would open it with one movement. But now I can see that that first one movement already showed the layers within the programs. I could see them in the first movement. And if I would go, if you feel the stagnation, you're going and you brought home an aspect or a soul piece, and eventually you feel the stagnation. Well, you are entering, you're ready to go deeper, you go into another layer of the program. And then I would call upon, energy movement, and I would draw it. But what I see now, you could say through my inner eye, what I see now is the thing that happened was there was this first movement, and then when I would go to the second layer, it would mirror itself. And about the matrix, this mind fuck game, it's all about this mirroring. So it would mirror itself. And the programming is part, of course, of the matrix, Yaldabaoth. So it would mirror itself and merge and make and open up, and I would use the tune that would come through and it would open up and a new dimension or a new former lifetime would present itself. And I would, do the same thing and lose myself completely, waste a lot of time identifying myself with, oh my God, I'm serious. Yeah. So, but you can do it really fast, if you don't identify it. You don't identify, just observe, observe, observe. So I went to I experienced the stagnation, and then I would see that call upon the energy that is needed, and I needed to place upon once again on the stomach, and activate it with a tune. And then when I entered the third layer, every time I entered the third layer it always has 3 layers, minimal. Every program has a minimum of 3 layers always, and some programs have a lot of layers. But and at the reaching the third layer, calling upon the energy movement, I needed to, it would, it already mirrored one time, and then it would mirror itself again, and it would make a turn, and then it would become really, and then I could see, oh, it was geometry. It becomes geometry we don't know here, in the matrix. That's your own unique soul geometry. And every time you go to another layer, it turns again and it flips again in a way, and it mirrors itself again. So it becomes a new geometry. But it's fascinating. So it's all within. You are the choir with all the frequencies, and you have all the geometry within. It's so wonderful. It's all within. Yeah. Yeah. So just felt like sharing that. Yeah. And well, if you have questions about it or you want to have a session with me, um, you know, during a session, I've decided now, because everything is changing for me. When I, you could say, work with you, start working with you, um, you could say I travel. I don't even travel through your body. I just observe. I can observe, and I no, I don't need to travel through your body. I just observe. I can see it, and I can see the landscape, and I can see the program you're working on now, and so, and I can see the movement, and I can, and the way I see a program now within a landscape, but the program shows itself to me now. It's as a, you could say, a movement within a circle. That's like a circle. But all these energy movements, it's like they're chaos within energy movements, and in the center there is something that resembles some kind of, you could say, a symbol. And for me, that represents the core. But so it is literally, so the geometry is inside there, So that is how we weave eventually the program back to 0 point, because we have to unravel all those energy movements, Um, we have to weave it back to 0 point while going through the layers. So that's fascinating. It's fascinating. It's new to me. It's fascinating. It's like, yeah, my eyes become more holographic more and more. So, but I still have, um, when I look at the landscape of the elements of the minerals, it's presented to me as a forest, and then I go, with my awareness, I just go fly above the forest and, where is the female or where's the male, and check out the energy and see what's going on there. And then, well, you know, but you can do it yourself. You can do it yourself. Um, well, this is my way. I'm not saying this is the only way. No, it's my way, and this the way that worked for me. And if it resonates with you, you can align to me, and we can have a session, and um, we can have a talk, you know, through Skype, and we'll make an appointment. And you can also ask me 3 questions, 3 questions you want to ask your soul. So I will beforehand will sit with your soul and just see what comes through for you. And then during the session, we'll see what is needed within your beautiful inner landscape in that moment. Yeah. So, yeah, well, that's it for now. Um, Anything else I want to share? No, no, that's it. Bye for now and much love.